What's going on, guys? I'm just gonna pop in and do another live. I had a lot of fun doing it yesterday, so I figured we'd do one today. Let's see. Let's see who shows up. So I'm just gonna sit here and kind of wait a little bit until people pop in. All right, got the first person in. So we did a live yesterday. I really enjoyed it. I'd like to do another one today. So welcome to the group. If you could drop some questions into the chat, I'm happy to answer whatever you got. What questions do you guys have for me? All right, I can go through and just so no questions yet in the chat. Yep, I see one here from Nathan. Overcoming previous biz owners who have been burned is proving difficult. How do you legitimize and show proof of success before they sign up? Awesome, great question. So I like to go with restaurant analogies when I come up against stuff like this, and say something along the lines of, I understand you had a previous experience, a bad experience. There's two things I would do. I'll go through the restaurant analogy first. I'd say something along the lines of, I understand you had a bad experience. I'm sorry to hear that. Unfortunately, it's very common. I hear that often. Most of my clients had bad experiences prior, so I'm sorry to hear that. But to not do it again and not try would be like going to a restaurant, having a bad meal, and just saying you're never doing restaurants ever again. It's not for me. Done with restaurants. And then that kind of jars something loose in their heads. Like, okay, yeah, you're right. Not all restaurants are the same. Not all things are created equal. I like that simple analogy. Does something, it jars it loose. The other thing I like to do is a simple objection handling thing I learned probably 20 years ago, and it's called Feel, Felt, Found. Feel, Felt, Found. It's very simple. Nothing magical about it. Feel, Felt, Found goes like this. I understand how you feel. Lots of my clients have felt that as well. However, what they found is allowing us to run XYZ and do this different allowed for better outcome, and they were able to yield better results. So Feel, Felt, Found allows you to empathize and show commonality with a prospective client, and it's a really easy method, and it's something you can do on the fly pretty easily. Yeah, you're going to come up across that a lot, because everybody that's done Google Ads has typically had a shitty experience with it first. No one knocks it out of the park right away. And most people have been burned in digital marketing in general, not just Google Ads. So get comfortable with that objection. If you go through Power Phone Scripts, which I talk about a lot, this book right here, I interviewed Mike Brooks, the author of that book, on the channel. Awesome interview. He is very formulaic, and he's got examples on how to overcome that objection in the book as well. So it's a very common objection in anything you're going to get. So just get comfortable with it, and that's it. And then also show proof of success before they sign up. I go back to what we talked about yesterday and the day before, the two-step sales process. If they've got an account that you can audit the account, show them what they did wrong, tell them what they did wrong and how you would fix it and how you'd be different. That's it. It's very simple. So Feel, Felt, Found, the restaurant analogy, push for an audit. How long did it take you to live from Google Ads management? Probably a couple months. I had consulting clients on prior and some SEO clients. So I was able to kind of live off that partially and then transition into, the salary we took from Google Ads management. But I'd say Yeah, a couple months. I also was living very cheap at the beginning, so I didn't need a ton. But it all depends on your lifestyle. Live is a relative thing. If you've got kids and you've got significant overhead, that's going to be different than someone right out of college that doesn't have any of that and can just, live really low on the totem pole and kind of just squeak by. So it's all relative. Um, I would say the biggest thing with that is sharpen your sales skills, because if you can sell, you can get this thing moving way faster than if you can't. If you can't sell and aren't comfortable communicating with people, this is going to suck for you. This is going to be a brutal. It's going to be a brutal uphill climb in order to get this thing off the ground. But if you can sell and you can communicate with people effectively and they're just comfortable with it, and no one's comfortable right out of the gate. It takes time to get comfortable. I do these lives, or have been doing these lives, because I don't like public speaking. For a channel with almost 400 videos on it, it's weird that I don't like public speaking, but I hate it. And I'm here doing it because I want to get better at it. So just keep doing it. Keep talking to people. And it doesn't have to be anybody. It could literally just be your interactions in your day-to-day life as you're talking to people about what they do for a living. Just get comfortable with talking with people. Thank you for answering. Absolutely, man. I'm glad this helps. So one question I got yesterday was, starting out as a freelancer. It was a question somebody left, on the recorded video of the live from yesterday. And it was, what services should I offer? PPC, SEO, SMMA, like what's better to offer? So some of it's going to come down to what your current skill set is. What are you comfortable offering currently? And then it's hard for me to give you an exact answer without more context as to what your history is, because everybody's experience is different. I know guys that absolutely crush it selling Facebook ads, guys that crush it selling SEO. I don't like selling either of those. I love selling Google ads. So everybody's a little bit different. And then I know guys that sell all three of them. I know guys that sell just one of them. You can literally create your own path any which direction, any which way you want to go. Like, we specialize in Google ads. I can talk about selling in general, but I can't talk specifically about selling Facebook ad campaigns, because I don't do that. I mean, I can tell you generally how it would work and how I would sell it, but you could literally go any direction you want. I know guys that go the more marketing consultant route, and they're paid for strategy and suggestions on implementation. Like, this is my preferred vendor list. Go hire this guy, and this guy. And you're brought in and paid as a strategist and kind of an overseer of implementation, if you will. I know guys that literally just do direct response copywriting and get paid with that. I know guys that do YouTube ads. So it depends. All right. Next question is, how did you grab those clients? Through PPC Itself. Okay. So in the months of November and December, we took on 40 clients. It was a little bit more in November than it was December. So maybe 60-40 November to December. But that's 40 clients in a pandemic in the two historically slowest months of the year. And they are a mix of retail clients, so direct to the business owner, and a mix of white label. So about 50-50, maybe 60-40 white label to direct to business owner. And those came in via direct mail and organic traffic that we get. So we get our organic traffic through our websites and through this YouTube channel and a bunch of the websites that we have, and then direct mail. Let me think real quick. One of the investor clients was a referral. One was probably from a cold call campaign from a while ago. I'd have to double check on that. But we took on 5 new investors, 3 new junk clients. Trying to think of which. The junk ones are all going to be via, 2 are going to be direct mail. 1 is going to be organic inbound lead. The real estate investors, it's going to be a mix of, I'd say, 1 cold call, 1 referral, and then direct mail. And then the others are going to be all inbound from organic traffic from the website and from YouTube. So that's the mix. I mean, keep in mind, we've also been at this. This is like our 5th or 6th year in business. So we've got a diverse mix of sources to bring in leads. But like we talked about yesterday, if I had to start over, where would I go? And I told you what we did when we started the new agency, and that was cold calling and direct mail. So I don't just say these things, we actually implement them and do them. So I think they're helpful. All right. So Raul, that just answered your question. Sunify, if you set up Google Ads for a client, should the traffic go to their landing page you created or the landing page of the client, which probably not optimized? Sunify, you're going to find that most clients don't have landing pages. They'll be sending their traffic direct to their website, and they probably won't have conversion tracking set up. They probably won't have call tracking set up. The way we do it, our best procedure, our standard operating procedure is, let's say the company is abcroofing.com. What we would do is go get abcroofing.co or .net as part of our onboarding process. We incur the cost to purchase that domain. We set up the hosting and we put the landing page there. So we use Instapage for landing page software. We use CallRail for call tracking. We use Swidoo for reporting. All of that is included in our month one fee. And that's how we do it. Should the client leave and they want the domain, I'm happy to push it to them. That's fine. The domain I don't care about. We've got, probably hundreds or thousands of branded domains. Typically the .co or .net of someone's brand. I don't get them for any other reason that they're a vehicle to get the client advertising in market as fast as possible. What we found is if we ask the client to create a subdomain or an inner page URL where we can put the landing page, it slows down the process. And now we're a week in or 2 weeks or 3 weeks before we can actually do what we need to do to get them live in market. We just found it to be, for lack of a better phrase, a clusterfuck, and slows everything down, makes us less profitable because we're waiting for them to get us what we need to go. So we sat down and we said, why don't we just purchase the .co, incur the $20 cost between the domain and the privacy on it, set up the hosting. Why don't we just do that? And if we do that, we can get people live in 2 to 4 business days. So our goal is from the time we take the onboard email back to set everything up and get them live ready to go live in market in 2 to 4 business days. We found that to be the fastest I know of. I don't know of any other agency of our size that's doing it at that speed. Most are a week, 2 weeks, some are 3 weeks. But we pride ourselves on fast implementation to get someone live in market as fast as possible, because we know we're on the clock, they're on the clock, and we want to get this thing moving. How do you get access to clients tag manager? So we don't actually even use tag manager. Everything we do is all through the analytics of the actual Google Ads account itself. I do white hat link building for clients. What would be best platform to bring in new clients? Google Ads, Facebook ads, or anything else? Well, if you're link building, why not create content around link building? Find some low-hanging fruit keywords around link building, write the content or have it written, and then link build to that piece of content, get it ranking well organically. And from there, pixel the traffic and retarget the traffic and create a nice little web of pixel traffic that you can retarget strategy sessions and consultations to and go that route. Raul, you might also want to think about niching down to a particular niche. If you do, it'll make your systems a lot easier, and it'll make your marketing to that niche way easier as well. Just something to think about. Do you guys have a minimum contract term for clients? We are month to month right now and thinking about 6-month minimum to reduce churn. A lot of people want to give up before it even starts working. Yes. So Chris, great question. We actually are not. Everything we do is month to month. We are month to month. The reason being is on the white label side of things, I can't lock somebody into a contract that they're not going to have their clients adhere to. It just became a moot point. So for us, we do everything month to month. We do everything performance based. We want the clients' campaigns performing as fast as possible. And we want them happily going into month 2 and month 3, not begrudgingly because they have to because of a contract. If you were going to sell SEO services, Chris, or something else that takes a lot more ramp up time, you might want to stick in a contract length in there. But for just PPC standalone services, I believe in month to month for it, but I could make a case for either way. I think if you're doing SEO services, you do need that built-in time. They do need the time, at least 3 months, more likely 6 or 9 months to get things really cranking. So I can make a better case for a contract, a longer-term contract, if SEO is being sold in there as well. If it's just PPC, I'd say the way I phrase it is everything we do is month to month. I want you thinking in your brain 60 to 90 days is your commitment here. I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire on that. However, if we can't agree right now that's in your brain and you're comfortable with that, let's not do this. I don't want to do this for 30 days and have you come in and out and have a bad experience with Google Ads. So if you're not going to commit to at least 60 to 90 days, let's pull back on this. Let's wait until you have the funds to support that and then go from there. I don't want you in and out in 30 days. It does me no good. It does you no good. And it's going to put a bad taste in your mouth about Google Ads and how this works. We have some campaigns that just hit it out of the park day one, and they're getting leads right away. Others take a little bit of time to ramp up. The more optimizations you can run through a campaign, the better it gets. So that's kind of how I describe things. So we optimize once per week for every client. And 1 month is roughly 4 optimizations. So I go through and I say, okay, each week of optimizations, the campaign should be getting better and better. However, some weeks, the tests and the optimizations you made the market didn't react well to it. So it may take a little bit longer. Some markets are more competitive. It also comes down to click cost. How much click cost? How much budget do you have? Are you getting a couple dozen clicks per month, or are you getting 1,000 clicks per month? So there is no one size fits all answer. I try to just talk in terms of frameworks and how to think about these things. When I talk to people about how this stuff works, there is no one size fits all answer. This is a market. Each market is its own market. It's going to ebb and flow. New people are going to enter and exit the market. There is no one answer. There is no final. So kind of wrap your head around frameworks around this stuff and kind of decision trees, if you will, rather than this is what you do. So I hope that helps, Chris. I know that was a long, convoluted answer, but I hope that kind of gives you kind of some insight into how I think about it. What else do you guys have? Let me make sure I got all these questions here. How long did it take to go live? Oh, to live. Any other niches to stay away from in this post-COVID world? Unfortunately, I don't think we're post-COVID yet. I still think this shit's going on, whether it is or not, whether you believe it or not, is one thing. But the reality is the media is still telling everyone that it is going on. So niches to avoid, probably restaurants, unfortunately. Let me back up. It's very regionalized at this point. So certain states are reacting better or worse to it than others. So New York City versus Florida, or Texas, or California versus Texas, or California versus Florida are going to look very different. So New York, I'd be weary. Generally speaking, let's say your state is not really up for the lockdowns, then go about business as usual. If you're in a state that is harder hit, restaurants are going to be really tough for PPC in general. Not just, I don't really run Google ads for Facebooks, Google ads for restaurants. But my friends that run Facebook ads for restaurants are going to be hurting in those particular markets. Some restaurants have been able to do well and with takeout and keep their margins down. So some have actually done better. But I think overall the industry is getting clobbered. Travel, hotels, tourism in general, bookings, tours, that kind of stuff. That industry is getting shit on bad. I don't know how the hotel industry has survived at this point because their overhead, their monthly nuts are enormous from their mortgages and insurance and taxes. It's just, I don't know how we haven't seen this wave of defaults within the hotel industry. Most people don't know that majority of hotels are franchised. Yes, you have your larger groups that own tons, but like you go down the street to like a local Marriott or a Holiday Inn, that's a franchise that someone bought. Now they may own 10 or 15 of them, but or they may own 1 or 2, but they're franchises. They're not typically corporate owned. And that typically goes for most of the common household brand names. Another industry you might want to stay away from: janitorial, commercial cleaning, things like that, because less people are actually in the office right now. So there's been a pare down on those services. The commercial office space market in general is going to get clobbered. I mean, it has, and I think it's going to get worse. I think there's going to be a lot of defaults there. The knock on that: who services those? Maybe it's office equipment companies. It's maybe insurance companies that service those type of people, commercial lending, the brokers and leasing agents, that kind of stuff. You all a little knock on around it. You got to be careful about. Have you tried local service ads for home service niches? We actually don't run them. You got to go through a verification process, and I don't want to hold someone's hand through that. It's a pretty simple process of them filling out the paperwork. A lot of the requests we get for it are through white label other agencies, and we just say, if we've got to play a game of telephone to get this thing live, it's not worth the juice. Is not worth the squeeze. So we just stay away from it. Once you're verified and you've been approved, it's a self-serve platform. So we just stay away from it. Where are you now? I am home. I live in North Carolina, originally from New York. I live in North Carolina now, and I'm in my home office. That's actually where I work from. I don't have an office building or office that I go to. I've got a home office. Thanks, Ed. I appreciate your videos and insight. Awesome. I'm happy to help, Brett. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. Let's see. What else you guys got? Anything else? So the title of this video, 40 new clients in November and December. I didn't do that to brag. That was clickbait, if you will, to get you in here. But more important is to have you think about that you're going to be able to get business in a down market. People still need to advertise. People still need to get the phone to ring to do business. So there's plenty of opportunity around. Come March, people panicked. We had a lot of pauses, a lot of cancellations, and then it picked back up. Some people that canceled never came back. I don't know the fate of their business to date, but we had a lot of people that paused and canceled then have come back. But we've also had a ton of new business come on. I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just saying that there's plenty of opportunity. I don't think most people fully appreciate how large the Google Ads pie is. They sell $7 or $8 billion a month of this stuff, right? Think about this. If you're selling, most of our clients do less than $10,000 a month in ad budget. So let's say they're at $3,000. How many $3,000 a month ad budget clients go into 7 or 8 billion? It's so many. Like every market, every city times every niche has the opportunity here. So I don't want to say it's endless, but it's enormous. There's an enormous play here. So I don't want you to get discouraged. I think now is just as good of a time as ever to get rolling in business. The opportunity is enormous, and the interesting thing here is the virtualization of the office has been, I think, eye-opening for a lot of people. But us as digital marketers have known this for years. Like I've worked from home since 2008. Same with my partner. So we've always known this was available. Now people are waking up to the idea that you don't necessarily need to travel to do meetings. I don't meet clients face to face. I used to when I was doing marketing consultant. I'd go sell face to face. And since we've started the agency, I think I've met less than a handful of clients face to face, and they weren't selling situations. They were because they genuinely liked the person, and we're going to have lunch or a drink or whatever. So I think now is a great opportunity. We've had our best year in business. So yeah, I think it's an exciting time. Obviously, it's scary. There's a lot of uncertainty going on. I've got young kids. There's a lot to think about. But from a pure business perspective, I think there's opportunity. I think at some point in the near future here, we're going to turn a corner and there'll be more opportunity. So I think that's good. How much are we doing monthly? Right now, we've got a little bit over 100 clients total. I'm going to keep the monthly revenue number to myself. I'd say we're doing well. But a little bit over 100, might even be closer to like 120, somewhere in that range. Next question was, how do we get our leads? So we've talked about it before. Cold calling, direct mail, inbound from Google, inbound from YouTube. We get a lot of referrals from other people that have used us in the past or currently use us. But one thing I would say is when you're thinking about leads, start to figure out where you are, do a hard analysis of your current situation, and figure out if you have the ability to have the luxury of inbound leads or if you need leads right now. And if you can spend some money and wait on leads, start putting money towards SEO and content, so you can build up some authority through content to get inbound leads. If you can do that, great. If you cannot, you got to think about how you have to start going out into the market and getting that. And for us, that's been cold calling and direct mail. Those have been our two big ones. We have done cold emailing on and off sporadically. We tend to burn things out pretty quickly with it. But we've found cold calling and direct mail to be consistent ways that we've brought in business. So if you can wait, I'd say focus on SEO and content and build up some authority and inbound traffic, pixel that traffic, retarget that traffic. If you need business today, cold call, direct mail, get out, network with people. LinkedIn is a gold mine. Facebook groups is a gold mine. Depending on if you're an agency or if you're a freelancer, you could look at things like Upwork or Fiverr. I don't recommend Fiverr for this, but it could be a foot in the door strategy for you, depending on how you price your services. There's people per hour. There's a lot of different websites you can go to get business in the door. So get creative with it. But if you got no money and you need to learn, or you need to bring in business quickly, start networking with people and start cold calling. Nothing's going to be faster than cold calling, because you could literally start picking up the phone today, making phone calls, and get interested people, have those qualified business conversations, and then go from there. So, do you offer services in a value ladder? We do not. We only offer Google Ads. We used to tier in remarketing on the back end as an additional upsell service, but we have since just packaged it in. The client will pay for the creatives on it, but outside of that, we do everything under the flat rate model. Yeah, just a little bit different. The way we look at it is we are shooting for retention and lower churn rather than continue to upsell clients. I think you can make a case for either, but we don't offer additional services. We're not selling Facebook ads or SEO or anything like that. So for what we give up in revenue, I think we make up for in terms of ease of fulfillment on the back end, if that makes sense. So our operation is pretty simple on the back end, and I don't necessarily want the complexity of all the moving parts of, at least today, as of right now, December 23rd, 2020, to date this, as of right now, I don't want all the complexity of all the moving parts of Facebook ads and SEO and everything else associated with it. So that's just our preference. As you add more services, you do add some complexity to the back end fulfillment, and your margins change and things like that for the better or the worse. For us, we like the simplicity. So I hope that helps. Do you use Facebook ads? For us internally, we use them for retargeting on occasion. We're not currently, but we will come Q1 of next year. Do you run ads for agency? Right now we are not, but we have a lot in the past. If you go through some of our old YouTube videos, it actually goes through the campaigns that we were running internally for ourselves. And how many cold prospecting touch points do you do in a month? That's a loaded question. The question is, how many cold prospecting touch points do you do in a month? It's a loaded question. Without more context, I would say do as many as you need to do. That's a loaded question. But if I don't think about it in terms of touch points as much as how many calls does it take us to get a qualified appointment? And does that appointment show up? And how many appointments does it take for me to get a client? That's how, in terms of cold calling, that's how we think about it. So quality of the conversation versus the sheer quantity of the conversation. Now, notice I said conversation, not calls. So when we're doing cold calling, we're using dialers. So dialer, you upload a list that you're going to dial from. Let's say it's 100 numbers and names. That will start dialing. And as soon as you get the voicemail for one, you can click a button and it drops a voicemail onto there for you that you've pre-recorded saying, hey, this is Ed, whatever the message is. You obviously wouldn't personalize it, but that drops the message for you. And that way you don't have to, you don't have to kill all that time waiting for the voicemail to go so you can do it. It'll literally save you a ton of time by just being able to do that. And then it goes right to the next one. And if it's no answer, it goes right to the next one. And it just speeds up your cold calling. Like what you could do in an hour or two would take you all day. So when you're going to go the cold calling approach, we definitely recommend that using a dialer. We use two different CRMs. We use Active Campaign for one, and then we use Close. Just Google Close CRM. It's an awesome software for inbound or inside sales teams. A lot of functionality with a dialer and recording and just a really cool software. That's what we use for that. It's got the dialer built in. So I challenge you to think about, to go back to your question, I challenge you to think about start cold calling. How many calls does it take for you to actually have a contact with somebody? And how many of those contacts are you able to actually set into an appointment? And then of those appointments, how many show? And of the showed appointments, how many become a client? So you just got to work your way through the funnel and kind of work through, okay, I want 3 new clients this month, or do I want 15 new clients this month, or 5 clients? And then kind of then work your way back up. And then that'll help you expand out the funnel to give you the size of the funnel you need to get you to the amount of clients you want. Now, it's never going to be an exact science. You're just working through frameworks, and just keep that in mind as you go. But as long as you're generally within the framework, you'll be good to go. A couple good books on this are this one and this one and this one. So a couple good books. So this guy, $1 Million Rebuttal, David Walter. I hit him on the channel. This guy's a cold calling beast. This is an awesome book. I definitely like this book. Watch his interview I did on the channel. It's really good. But he has a very unique style. He used to work in a bunch of call centers, crushed them, beat all their records, did really well there. He's got a very unique style to cold calling. If you want to learn how to write scripts, like when you're cold calling, a big portion of it is the list that you're calling. Big portion of it is the messaging to that list. Is there a message to market match? Are people understanding and resonating with what you're saying? And these are 2 good books. Actually, let me give you 3 books. So this middle one is the oldest one. Then it was this book, then this book. So if I had to distill it down, I'd say just get this book, and that is Sell the Meeting. All right. I've interviewed Scott on this channel as well. I definitely recommend this book. It's excellent if you're going to get serious about the cold calling side of things. Power Phone Scripts is another one. This is the book that taught me that sales is formulaic and that you're never going to get questions that haven't been asked before. And there's an answer out there for it. So if you're out there wondering what you should say where, read this book, because it's going to be like, holy shit, They're all the same answers. They're all the same questions. When I read this book, it was like the biggest like duh moment. Like there are no new questions. Everybody asks the same things. So that was a super helpful book. I interviewed Mike on the channel. Cool dude. Good book. David I interviewed on the channel. Great story. Really good book. He's got a lot of unique twists on things that Scott does not do. That I think now that we marry them together and do like a blend of the two. But Scott's book's awesome. Yeah, I mean, Scott's built an entire career on cold calling, teaching people how to cold call, building out teams to cold call. So, yeah, if you're serious about this, I don't know why I went on this rant, but that's those are some books to check out. Let's see what else we got here. Who does your cold calling for you? So it was me, and it was probably 10 other people in total over the last couple of years. We would hire people off of Upwork for contracts, and we'd test them for like 30 days, see how they did. You're going to know within the first week or so how they do, because the script that we have is really tight and it works well if they're effective at what they do. So we're going to be putting out a cold calling course that gives out all of our scripting, all the objection handling, how to tighten up the appointment so people actually show up for it, how to get through the gatekeeper, all that kind of stuff. And it'll be all the scripts. It'll be recordings of myself and a colleague going back and forth, kind of role playing it all. We'll go through some recordings of calls as well that we've done. That's in the works. And there's plenty of people you can get on Upwork that will do this and do it well. What I will say is it does not have to be US based. What I would recommend is US or Mexico or Costa Rica, Panama, somewhere in South or Central America. The reason I say that is there's a lot of expats down there that have the American accent. Let me back up. We were calling into the U.S. market, so we wanted someone with a U.S. accent, and that's where we found them. However, we've also had some people in the Philippines call for us. I've never had guys in India. Let's see where else. I know some guys in the real estate space that do well with guys in the Philippines and guys in Egypt, actually. So yeah, I mean, Upwork is where we've gotten our people from. And then one guy who's become a friend of mine worked for us for well over a year and a half. He ended up going and starting his own business, but he came from Upwork and brought in a ton of revenue for us all through cold calling, all through appointment setting. And then it became kind of like my, I don't want to say sales trainee, but worked under me in the sales role and became my right-hand man. And I kind of trained him on all aspects of sales. He has since left and started actually 2 businesses, and it does well, and I'm happy for him. You guys use contracts. Everything we do is month to month. So we send over a payment link and a questionnaire or an onboarding email. So we do not use physical contracts. When we were selling with one of our niche agencies, when we were selling SEO services, we were putting people into 90 and 180-day contracts. We were signing physical contracts or digital contracts. But on pay-per-click, everything we do is month to month, so we do not use contracts now. Yo, would love to know your direct mail method script. So, Justin, I am in the process right now of putting together a course on that. It's going to be $197, just like the rest of our products are. And it's going to be a templated version of the letter, how we make it niche specific, giving some insight on what to change, where to change it, why to change it. I'll also give a bunch of examples of letters we've used in niches, how they've worked well, why they worked well. I'll show you some other examples of things we've mailed and some results we've gotten from it. I'll go through how to build your list either by yourself or to hire someone or to buy someone, buy a list. I just did the full outline for it. It's probably going to be about 10, maybe 15 videos, something like that. It's going to be relatively short, but the value in it is going to be the actual letters that you are going to get how to implement them, what to expect from them, and how to roll it out. So I've given it to some colleagues, crafted it for them, and they've done quite well with it. So I'm pretty confident selling that product. We use it to this day, and I'm happy to get it out into your hands. I think it'll be useful for you guys. Can't wait for the cold calling course. What's their monthly salary, the cold callers? That's a great question. I have to go back and look. I wasn't doing it off of monthly. What I was doing was off of, oh shit. I'd have to look. I'd have to go back and Upwork. Part of the cold calling course, what I'm going to do is go into Upwork and actually show you the job description that we did and give you a couple like golden nuggets that we do. Like we put a little couple hidden questions inside the actual job description. And if they don't answer the question directly in the way that we ask them to answer it in the first sentence, we disqualify them because they're not paying attention. They're not reading it and they're just giving out form things. So I'm going to go through all of that. Monthly salary. Shit. I don't remember. I want to say, I don't remember, maybe $10 to $20 an hour, something like that. And then we were bonusing based off of, in some situations, we were doing it based off of appointments that showed. Other instances, we were doing it based off of closed deals. Others, we weren't bonusing at all. So I could run through a few scenarios on how we did it and why we did it. And then I can talk about how some of my buddies are doing it and how they do it. Now, keep in mind, it all can vary based on how you're going to charge for your services. So if you're charging $2,500 a month for your service, you can spend a bit more to acquire the business than someone that's spending charging $500 a month. So it's all relative. Okay. But I'm going to walk you through a framework that will cold calling work for me style of kind of just a decision tree to see if it'll make sense for you. Thanks, brother. Planning on growing a 20K profit from all. You guys white label fulfillment. Awesome. Yeah. So we're going to be putting out a course on selling of PPC as well. Kind of going through how I sell it. We have a 2-part sales process, the audit and then the close. But if someone doesn't doesn't have Google Ads, we go through like how to proposition the value of Google Ads and why they should be doing it, and then how to close it. So we're going to be putting out something for that as well. Do you provide any guarantee of leads? Because most of my clients ask how you handle these types of clients. No, in our, when we're in specific niches, we've got a good handle on whether or not it's going to work for them right out of the gate. Each market is different. If you guys hear me say this again and again, we have to wrap your head around the idea that each city, okay, let's say you're in the roofing niche, for example. The way roofers compete in Tennessee is going to be different than the way they compete in San Diego versus Oakland versus New York City versus Buffalo. So you have a general idea of how things are going to play based on your experience within the niche. Then you go into the localized market, and then you're competing. You're not competing in a bubble, so there's no one size fits all. Like, this is what you're going to expect. It's $50 per lead, because the reality is roofing costs have gone up almost 100 or 200% in the last 2 years for click costs. It used to be like $10, $15, $20 a click. Now you're seeing it 30, 40, 50 per click. And that's just in the last 2 years. So we had a lawyer client over the course of 18 months, his cost per click went up 100%. So if you think about that, if everything else remains steady, his click-through rate remains steady, which was strong. His conversion rate remained strong. That means his cost per lead doubled over the course of that time frame. So these markets change. They're never going to be the same. They ebb and flow. Get comfortable with the idea that these are a stock market, if you will. There are going to be ups and there's going to be downs. There's new people entering the market. There's people exiting the market. What your job is to be the control in there, to put the best foot forward for that client to be able to compete in that market. Now, once you've got some examples under your belt of how you performed in other markets, you'll have a rough idea, but you're never going to be able to give them in good conscience a guarantee on what they're going to get, because you're not Google. Things could change. A missile could hit downtown somewhere, and all of a sudden the impression volume falls off, and you're not getting clicks, and you're not going to get the lead. So like, I wouldn't put a guarantee on it, because there's no way to guarantee anything, because these things change. What you have is you put your best foot forward, and you have your experience from other markets in that niche. That's how we do it. I never say you're going to get X number of leads per month. I'll just show examples of what we've done. If they aren't confident in that or happy with that, I'll just say this is how it's performed for us in other markets, and go that route. How much do you charge monthly for white label fulfillment? So Joel, if you go over to our website, clicksgeek.com/white label PPC, or just go to clicksgeek.com, and you go to the white label tab, you can get all of our pricing there. It's got our white label pricing. It's got our white label guide, which is a giant FAQ, frequently asked questions on how to sell this stuff, what to expect, all sorts of stuff like that. Then we've got a playlist in there as well, specific for agencies and freelancers on stuff they should be, aware of. Real quick, generally speaking, though, it's $750 for the first month, and then $450 a month thereafter. In that first month, that $750 includes landing page build, campaign build, hosting of the landing page, all the call tracking setup, all the reporting setup. And then after that first month, it rolls over to $450 a month, and that's a flat fee. You can spend as much as the market will bear, or as much as the client wants to. So yeah, $750 month one, $450 month thereafter. And our goal when we onboard somebody is to get you live in 2 to 4 business days. What else we got? Lost connection. How much do you pay the cold call? Observer, I just answered that for like 5 minutes. When this goes on to recording, which will record after this is over, you got to rewatch that section, because I talked about it a bit. But we're putting out a cold calling course, and we'll go through all of that in there as well. And I'll give out the scripts for the job description and all that, and I'll kind of take you behind the scenes so you can see what we've done. When will all these courses release, and will you do a package deal to get everyone once? Yeah, so the I'm actually supposed to be recording the direct mail course right now, but I wanted to go live again. So the direct mail one I want to have live in the next couple of weeks. I was hoping my goal is to have it done in the next week. And then after that, I'm doing the cold calling course. I've already got all of the scripting and objection handling already done. Got lots of recordings already done. I just need to set up a time to do some role playing with a colleague of mine, to add more content, more value into the course itself. Just so you can hear how this stuff actually happens in real life. So that one will be like first, second week of January. And then we're building how to start a PPC agency / how to become a PPC freelancer course. And that is going to be for anybody that's new to this or is currently selling some other digital product or service and wants to also sell Google Ads. So if you're selling SEO and you want to learn how to sell Google Ads, this would be appropriate. Or if you're new to all of this and want to learn how to start the business from scratch and get rolling as a freelancer or as an agency, that would be applicable to you. What we're going to do to include in that, we're going to have all the startup stuff, but we're also going to package in the cold calling course, the direct mail course, our landing page course, and our Google Ads course. So there's going to be a huge value to buy it as the bundled package. So we're working through all that right now. That's going to be a pretty large course, but we'll make it affordable. It'll be well under $1,000. It'll probably be about $500 for all of that, but we'll package it and make it make sense for you. Our goal with it is to keep it cheap enough so that the first month a client pays you anything, you're going to be able to pay for the entire course. That's our goal with it. Because when I got started in this, I learned by learning from other people. I learned by going on YouTube. I learned by asking a lot of questions, and I'd like to get that information out there to help. So I hope this helps. All right, Joel, we answered your question. Observer, we got you. Justin, we got you. What else you guys got? What other questions you have for me? You guys got anything? Roger, what's up? Do you have any referrals for companies providing commission-only sales reps? I don't. What I would recommend is look in um, look in Facebook groups for something like that. But what I would say is, if you're going to go the commission-only route, um, you're gonna have to pay him pretty decently, pretty big commission. It can't be like 20% of month one. It'd probably be like your entire month one, something significant. What I found is a commission only scenario. Also, if you're going to get them leads and you've got a built up, established, company around you, that makes it easier and more attractive for someone that's going to go commission only. But if you're starting from scratch and you've got no testimonials, no social proof, getting someone to come on and get you all the clients is probably going to be a difficult sell for you, in my opinion. Because it's like, why would they do that when they can just go do it themselves and then just white label the work? Does that make sense? So the value proposition has got to be there for them, Roger. I hope that helps. Or if you can provide any more context, I could kind of continue to answer it. But Justin's asking, what do you see as the best niches for PPC? Justin, if you go to Google and type in PPC niches, you'll see our article on there for best PPC niches. I think it's listed as 44 niches, but we've been adding to it and never recounted, so I don't know what the number is. But yeah, you're going to find their local businesses, roofers, doctors, plumbers, duct cleaning, junk removal, ENT doctors, podiatrists, eye doctors, pulmonologists, allergists, divorce lawyers, DUI lawyers, water damage clients, foundation repair, roofing, plumbing, electricians, that kind of stuff. Anybody that needs the tree service, anybody that needs the phone to ring to do business is kind of where we recommend sticking. If you could niche down and get comfortable with one niche and get a bunch of clients in one niche, it's going to make your life a lot easier, not only from a sales perspective, but also from a back-end fulfillment perspective. But then also the marketing you're putting out into the market can be specific to them. Instead of a one size fits all, it's specific to that niche. It'll make your life a lot easier. So agency structure, we've got front of house and back of house. I handle all the sales side of things, and then the business aspect of the business. So client credit cards, that kind of stuff, bank accounts, insurance, all that kind of fun stuff. And then my partner handles the back end fulfillment. He does all of the building. So I do. If I had to simply define it, I do business and business and sales, and he does more fulfillment and operations on the back end. What's a typical day for you? So I like to do scheduled calls. So I like to avoid inbound phone calls as much as possible, because if they are doing inbound phone calls, they haven't opted in for pricing yet, and they haven't read our white label guide, and they haven't gone through our YouTube playlist, which answers a ton of the questions that they're going to ask. I've done thousands and thousands and thousands of inbound leads over the years. I don't say that to be arrogant. I'm just saying that I know the questions they're going to ask. So what we did was we documented all of the answers to those questions. So what we'd prefer is someone opts in, gets our pricing, and goes through our FAQ, and that's going to answer most questions. And then if they have additional questions and they want to talk to us, just book a time on my calendar. We hop on a call, and we go through that. It's pretty straightforward and simple. We like to be transparent on how all this works. So my typical day is I wake up, hang out with my kids for a bit. We have breakfast, hang out with my wife, and then take my kids to school. And then I work from probably 9 to 4, somewhere in that range. I like to go out for lunch. And when I say get out for lunch, it can literally just be me going in the car and driving somewhere for a half hour, an hour, just to get out of the house and listen to a podcast or listen to an Audible book on tape. Working from home, you often don't interact with a lot of people. So I like to just get out. And yeah, so then 4 o'clock, either in the morning, my wife will pick up, either my wife drops the kids off in the morning or I do, and then I pick them up in the evening, or she does. We tend to do 1-on-1. Um, and then, yeah, so pretty standard. One thing, one thing that happened in early on in the pandemic was our kids' school got closed. So they were home for a couple months. And what we found was my wife was actually working from home as well. So, my parents are on the older side, her parents on the older side. So we couldn't have them over here babysitting. So what we did was I compressed my work schedule to 4 hours. She compressed hers to 4 hours. And I would watch kids in the morning. She would watch them in the evening. And what I found was I was getting more work done in 4 hours than I was in 7, 8, 9 hours with the full schedule. So what I did was compressed it, and now I only take calls within a certain window, even though I'm working full days. I was able to compress it, get all my work done within that time frame, and my life is less chaotic and less hectic because of that. So I'm not taking calls at all hours of the day. I like everything scheduled if possible. Yeah, I hope that helps. Kind of a little bit of a rant there. Justin, are the doctor niches harder to sell? Seems like it would be harder to reach. Not harder to sell, harder to reach. If you can get a hold of a doctor, they're pretty easy to sell. Actually, it's just getting them on the phone is a giant pain in the ass because their lives are so structured and so their lives are run by their office managers or practice managers. So they're hard to get on the phone. I find direct mail has worked well for us with that niche or that industry because it goes direct to the owner. I have not had success cold calling into doctors' practices, so that's just my take on it. I would say ads, direct mail, or inbound marketing is going to be the play, or joint ventures, strategic alliances for the doctor industry. Jason, what are all the skills needed as a beginner to start as a Google Ads manager for your company? Any recommendations? Thanks. So last couple of videos we went through how to get Google certification. It's a pretty easy process. Depending on how fast you learn, it might take you a day or two. And then after that, we've got almost 400 videos on this channel. Walk through how to become a Google Ads manager, walk through our tutorial videos so you can see actual live campaigns, how they function in the wild. It's one thing seeing it how Google wants it to be seen within the training and the assessment and the certification process. It's another thing to see it in the wild, how it functions in real life. So go through and watch all of our videos, and it doesn't have to be just our videos. There's tons of videos on YouTube. Get comfortable with how these things function in the wild and behind the scenes. Go through our case study videos, see what successful campaigns look like, get a feel for success and get a feel for what a successful thing would look like. So you know what you're looking at and know how to look at things. Go through our optimization videos. We've got tons of videos on how to build, but also how to optimize campaigns. And these are actual live campaigns. If you need more, we've got a Google Ads course. Udemy also has Google Ads courses. There are other courses out there. You don't have to buy ours. And then I talk about like how to get your first client. If you had the chicken or egg where you didn't know where to start, you wanted some experience first, I'd probably go looking for a friend or family member that has a business that is currently advertising. Ask them to audit their campaign. And if you go to our channel, look for our audit video. Just go to YouTube, type in ClickSkeek audit or Google Ads audit, and you'll find a video of ours that goes through our auditing process. It's a very simple audit. It's like a 1 to 2 page write-up. We have sold over 1,000 accounts, and a lot of those accounts start with that audit. So you don't need to recreate the wheel. It does not need to be pretty or fancy. I used to put it into PDFs and pretty it up. I literally just copy and paste it now into an email and send it off to them. Functionality over perfection. Okay. And then go that route. As you're getting new clients, I believe in selling the audit or selling the idea of you auditing the campaign over going straight for the sale. So crawl, walk, run, date before you get married. So audit the campaign, identify what their problems are, how you would suggest fixing them, tell them about that, prescribe you as the solution, and get the job or get the freelance client or get the agent client that way. So I hope that helps. Ian asks, how did you end up finding someone to partner with? Man, I got lucky. And I think he and his wife and my wife would all say the same exact thing. So Rob and I were in a couple of Facebook groups together back in 2013, 2014. And I was buying leads off of him. He was scraping the leads like a dirtbag. And I was buying them from him, and I was going out and selling these deals. And I was in the SEO / marketing consultant world at that point. I was of the belief that Google Ads was dead because the guys that sold me the SEO side of things, that's how they pitched it. Free traffic from Google, that style of a pitch. And the program was awesome. I learned a ton. I learned a lot of SEO. It was OMG machines. I have nothing bad to say about that program. I thought it was awesome. I learned a ton. We've gotten our best investment we've ever made as an agency has always come from SEO for us internally in terms of lead gen and client getting. So I'm a believer in it. Rob was a Google Ads expert / PPC manager expert. And I was not. I did not believe in it. I didn't really know much about it. I'd run a couple of campaigns for myself in another business back in the day and just got completely slaughtered in such an embarrassing way. And I had a client that kept asking for me to run his Google Ads, and I did not want to do it. And I reached out to Rob, and I was like, is there any way you could take a look at this and see what you think? And he took a look at it and was like, yeah, this is a joke. This client's campaign's a mess. Went through the exact audit he was using then, sent me the results of it. So I essentially kind of hired him as a freelance PPC manager, believe it or not. He knocked it out of the park. Within the first month, my client was like, holy shit, what is going on? This is incredible. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know this was, I honestly did not think Google Ads still worked or did work or whatever. I was blind to it. And he completely knocked it out of the park. And it was like an eye-opening moment for me because I loved the selling side of things and I hated the fulfillment side. I hated fulfilling the back end of it. I liked talking to people and talking to clients and suggesting strategy and using my marketing consulting brain to help identify opportunities in their business and present solutions, and kind of bridge the gap between where they are now versus where they want to be, and identifying what strategies they should implement. Rob hated that side of it. He loved the back end fulfillment. He loves being in his office, not talking to anybody. He could be a little curmudgeon sometimes. Rob, if you're watching this, you know that. Yeah, so long story short, he knocked it out of the park for the client. We progressed our relationship and, got to know each other better and saw an opportunity to kind of merge our skill sets together and took a chance on each other and ended up starting a company together. And I've been together since. So we got lucky in how we met each other. What I will say is it would have been a disaster if we were both sales focused and not back end focused, or both back end focused and neither sales focused. I think part of finding a good partner is synergy, finding the yin to the yang, however cheesy that is. Find someone that complements your skill set. So if you're good at sales, find someone that's good at the back end. If you're good at the back end, find somebody that's good at the front end. Having said that, you don't need a partner. I know plenty of guys that do 6 figures up into the 7 figures that they're the only owner of the business. Now, they may have people that work for them. They may have a strong number 2, but you don't necessarily need to have someone. But for us, it worked really well for us. So I hope that helps. That's our long story. Do you have clients in the UK or Canada? Canada, yes. UK, no longer. So we get a lot of leads from Canada. With Canada, the exchange rate in the US between Canada and the US is a mess. It's expensive for Canadians to do business with US companies. So while we get a lot of interest there, our rate structures tend to scare them away because it's just expensive for them to do business with us. As far as the UK goes, UK, Australia, Europe in general, and even Hawaii to an extent, the time zones just became really tough for us to manage from a sales and support perspective. So we ended up capping it to the US and Canada a couple of years ago. I've got a couple colleagues that I recommend. If we have someone come across that needs help there, I've got a friend that'll work in those markets and that can help. But for me, I started having kids going back. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and things just got tough to manage. So we ended up just capping it to where we could sustain business hours. Client retention rate, we talked about this yesterday. On the white label side of things, I'd say it's probably 6 to 8 months, somewhere in that range. On the retail side of things, I'd say it's like a year or two. And the difference in rate is who sold the deal and how it was sold and the expectations that were set, and also where we are in line in terms of the white label business. A lot of times people come to us from a white label perspective in like a holy shit moment, like this client's about to leave. Is there anything you can do? So we have a very short window to work in. And it's rarely a client that's brand new in terms of their relationship to manage. So, that mixed in with the ability to set expectations are not in our favor in terms of the length of the retention, if that makes sense. And that's why we retain much higher on our direct to retail business. Like we've got a client that we've had since 2015. We've got a lot of our retail clients are very long standing clients. And that's because we like to undersell the deal and try to overperform as best we possibly can rather than oversell it and either underperform that standard that had been set or just improperly set expectations like agreeing to too small of an ad budget and then overselling what they should expect to get out of that. So hope that helps. Art is asking, any resources for cold calling? I did see some vids about cold calling. I was wondering if you had any other recommendations going into 2020. Art, if you were here like 10 minutes ago, you would have seen it all. So we're going to have a cold calling course coming out here in January. It's going to go through all of our scripting that we use to set appointments and to win business. Between direct mail and cold calling, we've literally brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars in recurring revenue with those two methods. So the two courses we're going to put out for both of those are going to be like legitimately the methods we use to do so. As far as cold calling, I'll just run through the books again. Scott channel, we've got a video on our channel. Read this book, Sell the Meeting. This is all about appointment setting in a cold market with cold calling. Awesome book. Scott's a good dude. These are two of his older books. You could get these as well. I really like these two books, but this is the most modern, up-to-date one. The other two books, I think, are over 12 years old, over 10 years old. Another book is Power Phone Scripts. This is the book that taught me that sales is formulaic and that all questions have been asked before and that there's answers to everything. So if you can document your answers so you get comfortable answering the same questions over and over again, and if you listen, you can hear that I just said the same thing that I said earlier when I was talking about this book, because I say that a lot about this same book. The last one is $1 Million Rebuttal. David's got by the way, we also interview David and Mike on the channel. Both cool videos in my opinion. But David's got a very unique style with cold calling, and he's a beast and has broke records everywhere he's ever gone for cold calling and appointment setting and revenue generation and all that. So I definitely recommend his book as well. So if you are serious about the cold calling side of things, I'd get those 3 books by those 3 guys and then pick up our course when it's ready. I think the mixture of the 3 will give you the rocket fuel to grow the heck out of your business pretty quickly. So I hope that helps. How do you manage 100 clients at once? So what you're going to find is, number one, we're only selling Google ads. We're not selling SEO. We're not selling Facebook ads. So the fulfillment is much easier on the back end. Also, keep in mind, most of our clients are local businesses, and most of our clients' ad budgets are below $5,000 or $10,000 a month. So probably somewhere between our averages, if I had to guess off the top of my head, I'd probably say somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 a month. So having said that, these campaigns need to be optimized once per week. Okay. Each client needs a list of optimizations, a checklist of optimizations, things that we run through. What you're going to see is the same campaigns have the same issues over and over again. And once you're able to identify them, you're able to move a lot faster through campaigns. And we also have lots of clients from lots of niches that we've done before. So we've got a really good foundation for what's going to work in their market. So we're coming out of the gate swinging. So it makes the back end management that much easier. Long answer, short answer is we've got good internal systems for building campaigns properly and checklists and ways we optimize campaigns with an 80-20 approach. Like what efforts, what 20% of our efforts are going to yield 80% of the results. Like the Perry Marshall book, the 80-20 Perry Marshall book. If you're not familiar with Perry Marshall, is like he was like the king of Google Ads. He's since morphed into so much more in the marketing consulting world. But he's got a book on the 80-20 principle. And then if I had to summarize it, the whole book is about applying the 80-20 principle to your business. But if you look at it for Google Ads, you're going to see that 80% of your traffic is going to come from 20% of your ad groups. All right. And then if you break it down, every 80-20 has got another 80-20. So of that 80-20, of that 20%, you've got about 4% that really dominates the majority. So once you're able to identify those and focus your efforts there, it becomes a lot easier to manage things and scale with smaller teams and still, have what's the best way to describe it? The net effect of having a super large team when you don't necessarily need to, if that makes sense. So you can remain very profitable and manage a lot if you have the good systems to do that. What's that prospect or what's that book that you like about prospecting? Well, certainly the 3 books I just talked about: $1 Million Rebuttal, Power Phone Scripts, and then Sell the Meeting. Those are 3 excellent books. There's another book called Fanatical Prospecting. I think you might be talking about that. That's an excellent sales book that will jar some things loose in your mind about how relentless you need to be on the prospecting efforts. That is by Jeb Blunt. Jeb's got a bunch of good books. He's got another good book called Objections. I'd put that book in the same tier as the Power Phone Script style book. It helps you identify and understand that objections are all the same. You've got a handful of things that people object about. And if you're able to craft responses that you can use over and over again, it'll make your life a lot easier. And then you can also go into something called objection-free selling, where you start crafting the way you propose this to people and sell this to people by preemptively answering their objections in the way you sell things. So like a question you guys asked earlier, people ask, oh, I don't want to sign a long-term contract. Okay. So what we do is, in the way I talk about Google Ads, I would say something along the lines of everything we do is month to month. We want this to be performance-based. We want our work to stand on its own. And we want you to be happily going into month 2 and month 3 and month 4, not begrudgingly because you have to because of a piece of paper. So that's a way that we preemptively sell the objection that is on the back end. So why not take care of it on the front end before you even have to take care of it on the back end before it becomes an issue? All right. Art. I hope there'll be a replay of this. Looks like I missed some good stuff. What price point did you mind for your course? Art, yeah, there's going to be a replay in this. Typically takes about 24 hours for the live to get fully rendered and be up. The live we did yesterday is up today, and this will probably be up tomorrow. Price point for each of the individual courses is going to be $197. And then the big full agency course, I don't know, probably $497, probably $597, $697, somewhere in that range. But with that, you're going to get all of our other courses, the $197 course for cold calling, direct mail, landing pages, and the Google Ads course itself, actually packaged into that as well as all the other content you're going to get around starting an agency from scratch or starting as a freelancer from scratch. So you'll get all that together. Are all your stuff overseas? No, we are all US based. We don't do anything overseas. I take that back. We do have a developer overseas in the Philippines that works for us. He's been working with us for 5 or 6 years now. Actually, I take that back. He's been with me 7 or 8 years. Long time. So yeah, he does not touch actual ad accounts themselves. He does more um, technical things that we need done behind the scenes. But yeah, everything else we do is state based. Give me 1 second. I just got a message I just got to look at real quick. What are the questions you guys have for me? All right. I focus 100% on call ads, and I'm finding a hard time finding experts within the space that just do call ads. Any recommendations? Um, Depends on what. No, I don't. I don't. I had more questions really than anything. Like why only call ads? And what niche are you doing the call ads in? I've got some buddies that do really well in the call ad space. A couple things to note: make sure it's more emergency based and less research based, um, and make sure there's a lot of traffic for it. Sorry, I got a call coming in. What I would say is with click to call or in call only ads, it's a bit of a misnomer. It's typically a handful of clicks before it actually produces a real phone call. Uh, so when you pay a little bit of an inflated rate for the click to begin with, you're going to pay an even higher rate because you got a high abandon rate. So people click on it like, ah, shit, I didn't want to click on that, and they just abandon. So it might be 2 clicks to produce a real phone call. It might be 5 clicks to produce a real phone call. That's what we've always seen with it. So just keep that in mind as you're doing that. So um, yeah, if you go onto YouTube, there'll be videos on how to set these things up. All right, got it. You run a PPL agency. Got it. I'm not a big fan of pay per lead with Google Ads. I love it when you've got an SEO'd property that's got a sunk cost, and you can make all of your margin off of that versus a per transaction margin with Google Ads, because you are going to get people that call looking for a job. It does happen. I'm not going to say it doesn't. You're also going to get people calling looking for a competitor. It does happen. And unfortunately, in my opinion, in the pay per lead model, you've got to be able to factor that in because they're not going to want to pay for that call. And your rates have to be high enough that you can absorb some losses like that within the model. Typically under management, you can make sense of that pretty easily, but under PPL, I've just found it to be difficult. So I'm not a believer in that model. If you could prove me wrong, I'm all ears and I'm open. I'd love to learn a different way to do it. I just have not seen uh, a proper way to do it. I've got a couple of videos on the channel about the pay per lead model with Google Ads. So again, Art, if you can do it better, I'm all ears. Teach me. I want to learn if there's a better way to do it. And I'm not shitting you. If you have a better way that does it and you're making good money doing it, let me know. I'm open. Margins are tight for selling leads. Not a fan. Right, Andrew, I agree. If you've got an SEO'd property that is spitting off leads, then you've got your one-time sunk cost or your ongoing sunk cost. Your margins on that are phenomenal, and you can literally just print money. But if you're doing it with Google Ads, you've got to truly have like 100, 200, 300% margin built on top of it in order for this to work out properly, because the abandon rate on calls is there, the wrong numbers are there. Idiots looking for jobs doing it, clicking on ads are there. People calling for competitors are there. Now, if you're having to account for that on every single lead, it gets tough. Whereas if you're generating them 100 leads and it happens a couple of times over the course of the month, that's different. But if you're running on a 20% margin, you're charging 20 or 30 or 40% on top of what your costs are, then do the math that you've got to then make up, 2 to 5 extra leads just to break back even. So I'm not crazy about that model. What else you guys got? Guys, I got emails piling up here. I'm going to have to jump here in a minute. I'll give it another 30, 60 seconds. If you got any more questions, just fire them over and I'll get them answered. If not, I'm going to have to call it a day. and maybe pick one up over the weekend when the kids are sleeping, or do another one next week. So if this is it, if you guys don't have anything else, I'm going to get going to give it another 30 seconds here. And we will meet again. I probably should schedule these out and send it out to the list that I'm going live. When I've been doing these, I've just been hitting live and going live, but I probably should tell people I'm doing them. I see many books in the back shelf. Anything good? All my books, man. All these sales books I just talked about. Another book I talked about yesterday, Systemology, which is about building systems in your business. It's written by a guy that owned an SEO agency, so that's a very good book. Lots of books on systems. Work the System by Sam Carpenter. Clockwork by Michael Michalowicz, very good. Scale by Jeff Hoffman and David Finkel. Working my way through those. Great book. Getting Everything You Can Out of All That You've Got by Jay Abraham is an awesome book. That book is like a masterpiece for marketing strategy and squeezing every bit of value you can out of the assets that your business has in an ethical way. I'm a big fan of Jay Abraham's marketing methodologies and his three ways to grow a business and his strategy of preeminence and how he does that. Getting Everything You Can Out of All That You've Got is an excellent book, and I highly recommend it for anybody that's going to own an agency or a freelance or be a marketing manager. The 7-Figure Agency Roadmap by Josh Nelson is an awesome book. I've been in Josh's group for a couple of years now. I definitely recommend his book and his course and his stuff. Josh is the real deal. Let's see. If I had another favorite book on here. If you're going to go into freelancing and consulting and owning an agency, there's a book by Alan Weiss up top, all the way up there. It's that one. It's called The Consulting Bible. And that is by a guy named Alan Weiss. He's like the king of consulting. He consults to the Fortune 500, Fortune 100. His rates are absurd. They're super high, but his audience pays it. His market pays it. So it's going to be very different from here. But the reason I like that book and recommend it is because it'll reframe your mind on what's possible with marketing consulting and how big you can grow your agency and how profitable your agency could be and how much you could charge and how much of this is a mental game versus you're constrained by how you constrain yourself. And another book on that front would be this book, Winning Through Intimidation by Robert Ringer. Robert Ringer was a high-end commercial real estate broker in the, I want to say 70s or 80s, I think 70s. But he's got a couple really powerful theories in this book, and I'll run through a couple of them. Let's see. So one in particular is the leapfrog theory, and that basically means that if you start something or if you're at a job, doesn't mean you have to stay in your current position and then kind of work your way up to the next rung and the next rung and the next rung. You literally can leapfrog to wherever you want to go, assuming that your skill set's there. What it often takes is just the balls to do it, and most people don't think that that's possible. So if you want to start charging more, build up the skill set and just start charging more and command the dollar, command the increase. If you want to get hired somewhere else, build up the skill set and go command that you get hired there at a higher salary, at a higher position. A lot of it is just mental. It's not what you think it is. You don't have to work your way up the ladder. You can literally hop up the ladder if you really wanted to. What are some other ones that I like in this book? I would read this in general. It's a great mindset book more than anything else. It's called Winning Through Intimidation, and it's not like winning through I'm going to punch you in the face. It's more like winning through your own mental struggles and the way you intimidate yourself. But he talks about selling to different personality types in this book. He talks about the mental game, how mental all of this really is. He talks about the theories on hard work, and you don't get paid on how hard you work. And I think it's his uncle in the book who's a ditch digger or something along those lines, where he's working his tail off, getting paid X dollars number, let's call it $8 an hour, working his tail off. And he could be making $500,000 a year, not working that hard. And hard work is not determine how much you get paid. It's the value that you deliver. So that's an awesome book. Highly recommend that. Some books. Andrew, thank you very much. Happy holidays to you, and Christmas to you. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to everybody. How do we deliver the leads to our clients? They get emails in real time. They get form submissions in real time via email, and they get phone calls in real time. What do you think of services like ClickSeats? We like ClickSeats. We use it. We don't use it for all of our white label clients. We use it for all of our retail clients because they're paying more. So we build that into margin. We use it for some white label clients on a one-off as needed basis if the account's an issue. All right. Do you guys have anything else? Fire away. I'm going to give it 30 seconds for real this time. You got anything else? Anything else? Justin, thank you. Happy holidays to you guys as well. If you guys need anything, just hit me up. And at some point, I'm going to start scheduling these so we get more people showing up for it. I'm enjoying doing these. Hit me up if you need anything. What percent of so probably about 50-50 right now, Art, between white label and retail. All right, that's it for now, guys. If you need anything, just hit me up. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I'm sure I'll just pop on and do another one of these awkward Q&A sessions. Have a great day, guys. Yeah.